So a couple months ago, Daniel and I were at a concert where you would get seated by an event host if you had tickets in the venue. We were seated enjoying ourselves when all of a sudden we heard this loud thud. And we looked back and there was a woman who had fallen flat on her face. She tripped up a stair and fell down. But she immediately started screaming, "I knew it! I had a feeling something bad was gonna happen tonight. I should have just stayed home." My heart broke for this poor woman. I felt so badly for her. She was obviously in pain. They had to bring a lot of people over to help her get up, and my heart just broke for her. I feel like we can learn so much from this situation. Not about falling up the stairs, even though I've done that before. Not about falling up the stairs, but that moment when we get that invitation, that text, that call from that group of friends, that friend, or that guy. When we know they're inviting us to somewhere, maybe that's their house, maybe that's a gathering, maybe that's a party, and we either have a bad feeling about it, or we know that if we do accept the invitation, if we do go, nothing good is going to happen, that there will be temptation or pressure to be someone we don't want to be, or to give into things that we don't want to give into, or that we will likely make poor decisions. Perhaps you can identify with that moment. Maybe you have not experienced that moment, but I assure you that this moment will come where maybe in your life that friend who's a bad influence says, "No, but really you gotta come out," or that group of friends says like, "You can't miss this," or that guy says like, "Hey baby, wanna come over?" And you know that if you go, you will not be able to resist the temptation to give into things that you don't want to give into that guy that when you show up, you can't help but give of yourself physically to. And you know that it's just not going to be good. In that moment, it's really difficult to say no. It is so difficult to decide to stay home, to not go out, to see that guy, to see that group of friends, to that party, whatever that might be. It is very, very hard. Making good decisions for ourselves is not usually easy. It's really, really challenging. But when we can identify that moment in our lives, that moment where we have that desire to say yes to things that we know could have very negative consequences and will likely have very negative consequences, we can harness our courage in that moment to say no. To say, I'm going to stay home, or I'm going to call a different group of friends that I know have a positive influence on me, to decide to do something productive with your time, to make a positive decision, rather than go somewhere where you know you will be tempted, where you know you will be pressured, where you know you will give into that thing, no matter how much you rationalize it. "Oh, I'll just show up, it'll be fine. Oh, I'll just show up to this guy's house, and I'm going to make the promise to myself that we won't kiss, that we won't do anything." But when you get there, you have a hard time saying no. It is so important to recognize that moment that woman had before she went to the concert. I am not faulting her for going to the concert. These are two parallel situations that we can draw different similarities out of. But it is so important to recognize that moment, because when we choose good for ourselves, we can lead lives of happiness and fulfillment. But when we have trouble or cannot say no to those friends, to that guy, to that situation, it is then when we go down roads of negative consequences, of negative decisions. When we say, "You know what, I'm just going to stay home," or "You know what, I'm going to call my friends that I know are good for me," or "You know what, I'm going to tell that loser who's saying, 'Hey baby, come on over,' in your dreams," that we can lead lives of good, positive, healthy, happy decisions. And that's the kind of women we want to be, right? It is a very hard thing to say no to those invitations, to that text, whatever that might be. It is hard, but choosing good for ourselves is hard. But ultimately, these are the moments when we get to choose the road that we're going to be on, the road to true happiness, true fulfillment, or the road to being someone we don't want to be, making decisions that we don't want to make, giving of ourselves in ways that we don't want to. So, comment below if you want to talk about this. Perhaps you have a story where you knew you should stay home. You knew that nothing good was going to come of it, and you went anyway, and you did suffer negative consequences. If you're willing to talk about that, I would love to hear from you in the comments below so that we as women can learn from one another. I've been hearing from a lot of you lately. My friend introduced me to your channel, ... and sharing your heart with me, and that makes me so happy. If you want to share my channel with your friends, I would love that so that we can get more women all around the world believing in themselves, loving themselves, and who God created them to be. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, you can follow me on Instagram at EMWILSS. And that's all for today. I'll see you next week. Bye.